if you don't know where to begin, better ask Win.
Shane, good to see you. We're talking about 4 ways to address long-term care and medical expenses in retirement. According to Fidelity, the average 65-year-old couple will need nearly $315,000 for health care in retirement. That's not even including long-term care, which, as you know, 7 out of 10 people will need at some point. And basically, it's not covered by Medicare. So let's talk through those options. The first option is traditional long-term care insurance. What are the pros and cons?
Well, it's a great policy that can help you to be protected against these ever-increasing costs of long-term care should they come your way. Now, long-term care is not one of the 2 guarantees in life, but it's pretty certain for a lot of people. And making sure you have a plan to protect your assets, your family from it is really, really important.
Right. And this one, too, is kind of use it or lose it, which is why I think it's not that popular.
Exactly. So there are better options out there. The old school standalone long-term care policies can be tough to pay for because, hey, you put the money in, you hope you never really need to use it because that means you have issues, of course. But it's tough to pay for because if you don't ever claim on the policy, then it's kind of gone. So there are other better tools out there that kind of make it a little bit of an easier decision.
Right. So let's talk through perhaps one of those better options. That is asset-based insurance. How does this work?
So these are typically based on annuity or life insurance products. And how they work is you put a chunk of money in or you pay into them in a series of payments, and they can help to provide long-term care coverage while also maybe growing the money in some manner along the way. But really the big thing about them is they will pay out in some manner someday. So if you never use them for long-term care coverage, then the money will still pay out to the family in the form of a death benefit, et cetera. These can also be sort of intertwined into tax planning tools where we take always taxable money, move it to never taxable life insurance products. And at that point, that becomes a tax planning tool, kind of wrapped in with a long-term care tool all at the same time.
I see. And then your next option would be to self-insure, but this is difficult and risky. And as you and I have talked about before, Shane, incredibly expensive. When we take a look at the annual cost for the Phoenix area 20 years from now, it can be up to $250,000.
Yeah, it's true. And this is very risky and very difficult to do successfully. But in all reality, this is what a lot of Americans, maybe even most Americans, actually choose to do. Rather than make a plan for long-term care, they use their assets, their home, their retirement funds as their long-term care plan and hope they never have to actually do it. But that can create a huge risk, a huge burden on themselves, on their own assets, and on the family should something happen. And like you said, 7 out of 10 Americans will likely need some form of long-term care, but far fewer than that have actually put a plan together to help protect themselves.
Right, which brings us to the last option, which is simply becoming a dependent. This is the reality of what often happens if you do not have a plan.
Right. So, like you said, it's very difficult to successfully self-insure. And what happens when you don't find success self-insuring is you become a dependent of your family or even of the state. And I'm sure your family would be happy to take care of you, but I'm sure they would have also preferred you had some sort of protection in there. And lastly, you really don't want to wind up, I don't think, at any sort of state facility. That's typically not where most people want to find themselves later in life.
Right. All right. Clearly, a lot of options, some better than others, but the key is proactive planning and having a plan in place right now. So if somebody wants to talk through the best options for them with you, Shane, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Best way to reach us is online or via phone. Our website is winstonandcompanies.com. You can request a visit on there or give us a call here directly at the office, 602-456-1928.
Great. Shane, thank you.
Thanks, Erin.
Got a plan for your retirement, 'cause you know it's just down the road. But if you don't know where to begin, better ask Win.